Thank you for joining me for this episode. Today, we're going to be speaking about, are you breaking the law by having a virtual team on the OI show? Well, thanks again for joining us. I'm excited to be joined again by my friend, Cory Pinegar. Cory, you and I have been on this podcast, it seems like 4 or 5 times, and it keeps getting better every time we chat. So it's great to have you on the
Hey,
on the
we
show.
had a great intro conversation before we hit record today. To be continued. So it's only going to go up from here.
I know. I know. So I wanted to talk with you as many people, I hope many people know, we just released The Invisible Team and are, continuing to see, and I don't know that we've hit the tipping point, but I'm really excited to see how many people are starting to become interested in utilizing a virtual and hybrid workforce to support their in-office team. If you've heard me speak or heard Cory on any other podcasts around the podcast world in small healthcare, and I mean that as opposed to hospital-based healthcare, whether it's in the veterinary space or the optometry space, dental space, the challenges that we have in small healthcare. But one of the things that I think becomes the fear of people is, am I doing this compliantly and safely? And one of my obstacles in coming in to utilizing a virtual team was I was concerned about HIPAA. And we quickly got over that pretty quick. But then there's also some fear that people have, is this legal for me to do in my state? Are there state laws and regulations that govern what I can or can't do? Is patients' health information? I wanted to see if we could talk a little bit with you, specifically about team, but also with other companies that are out there, of what's being done and resources that are being provided to help calm some of those fears. So can you kind of set the landscape of where things are at in the country from a legal standpoint, and what things people are usually concerned about, and how you've navigated alongside other companies that are out there to reduce those fears for people?
Yeah. And to take kind of the big step back, I think, which was like the springboard of acceleration with remote workers in optometry. You've got a practice based in Washington, and let's say you had a great biller years ago. And during COVID, her husband decided to move to Kansas. And she's like, well,
Mhm.
DK, I'm moving to Kansas. And you're like, oh, crap, this is my all time biller or whatever it might be. And people then, as it became harder to rehire really good staff, said, well, what if we keep her?
Yeah.
And we could just have her log into our EHR remotely. And guess what? If she's talking to insurance companies, submitting claims, verifying insurances, does she really or he really need to be in the practice? No.
Right.
And so remote work, as we know, has continued to grow and grow and grow. I think the element that's really important to discuss is, okay, well, now we're adding in international work. And we know with the cost structure within optometry, being profitable is a battle every single year, because your software costs more, your gloves are costing more, your triple net rent costs more. And so remote and international kind of virtual assistant staffing is a way to put money back in the owner's pocket or invest in the practice. But at the same time, what you just called out is, and I don't know if you felt this way when you started, I've been in brick and mortar healthcare for 10 years now. And the first time that I got told about HIPAA, I felt like I walked away with like a gray storm cloud above me. I don't really understand what it was, but it just felt ominous. And HIPAA, to a lot of people, and changing laws and regulations in states sometimes can just be really scary. No one wants to misstep here. And so, what we want to do as a company, whether your biller moves to Topeka, Kansas, or Argentina, or you hire through us or any of the other amazing companies, what do people need to know about the changing laws within the US and about proper HIPAA compliance, so that they know what the facts are and that they can be confident that remote work can be done compliantly and that it will work well into the future?
Yeah. Yeah. And the international aspect, I think, is as Tim Ferriss outlines in the 4 Hour Work Week, is that all of a sudden you just bought a Lamborghini and it with your Amex or whatever in another country, which those things don't happen. But I think the concern is that now all of our health information is being transitioned. So first of all, let's talk about protected health information, the PHI of the patient. One of the tools that I think you've continued to evolve in, specifically with team, is that the team members that I have, they actually never log in directly into my computer. They go through a back channel, and that they have to log on to a program to then log into my health record. Can you talk about that barrier that you've protected offices from? And other agencies may do something similar. So, but just speak about what you're doing. And, if people are doing, have another agency they work with, maybe they can ask about something similar. So, how do you
Yeah.
do that?
And I even want to take a step back and talk less about what we do at Team. I will indirectly talk about that. What
Yeah.
I want to more mention is like we have spent a lot of time saying what are the best in class practices to maintain usability, but at the same time, great compliance. And what we see as kind of your 1-2 combo punch that's necessary right now is the use of a VPN or tool called SSE. SSE is just like maybe the one step upgrade of a VPN right now. And that's necessary for maintaining the information going along the highway in a safe way. And then the second thing that is super important is something called a virtual machine. And a virtual machine allows me, no matter where I am in the world, to log into a Microsoft Azure server that is completely controlled by our workplace. And so no matter what exists on that workplace server, guess what? When I close my laptop and that connection goes down, nothing exists on my laptop. And what this does is it means you can work from anywhere and that data is not leaving the US. And that traffic as it travels is scrambled and protected. And so what we want to do is not make HIPAA this dark storm cloud where people are like, oh, I got to do compliance. It's what are the simple measures? And every year we have to continue to look at are the measures adequate for where technology is today that we can say, okay, we're scrambling our traffic, we're protecting our workspaces. And we can even link this, but CMS years ago came out with a HIPAA security series that I have up on the side of my computer. And there are 3 sections when they really break down what does it take to be fully HIPAA compliant.
Mm.
And what it talks about is what are the boxes you need to check with technical safeguards? What are the boxes you should check with physical safeguards at your practice? And what are the administrative or training safeguards you should go through? And what's nice about this is if you can go through and say, I go through annual security awareness and training, boom, I have assigned someone in my practice for security responsibility. Boom. And what this has done for me is it's taken the gray cloud away and said, no, every year I need to check the box and make sure that this is the most updated and safe way possible so that people can know you can be fully compliant with remote work. And genuinely, I believe if you build compliance around remote work, you're actually making your practice even safer at the same time. Because where does a HIPAA violation happen today? It happens cyber. No one's smashing the windows to your practice and getting the manila folders like they were 20 years ago.
That's right.
Today, people
Yeah.
are stealing a password, downloading information. And so developing these security systems matters just as much on site as it does anywhere else in the world.
Yeah. So, if you're talking internally for our practice, which many of us still have that gray cloud that you're speaking of, we're responsible for that in our practice. And as Brujik and I have spoken, particularly in our close program, partnering with companies like NAC Global, who can help do compliance audits and make sure that we're checking off these boxes, just as you said, really helps us sleep at night. But the other aspect of it is when we are ordering contact lenses or ordering spectacle lenses, we're sending out our private health information for our patients to a partner, and then we sign a business associate agreement with them to say, hey, Your team is responsible for that. And that's the key component of why I'm not hiring virtuals directly to be my employees is I actually just lean on you. And I'm like, hey, if anybody violates HIPAA, because I have a business associate agreement with Team or one of the other companies that are out there, that is on you, not on me, because you're taking that. And so, really, to some measure, we should feel us an ounce of comfort on the compliance side of things that you're having to worry about that, not so much us. And I think that's a key component that everybody should realize. And that business associate agreement, when I ask you about it, is what is your HIPAA measures? You should, be saying, here's the check marks that we have to go through for all of the partners that we work with.
And so I think this is a great conversation. Number one, as a partner in optometry, it's our job to partner when crap hits the fan. Now, I've done this for 9 years now. We've serviced thousands of practices. We have been extremely fortunate to not have a violation or an incident to date. But we all know in business that we should prepare for the worst and hope for the best. And so as part of our business, we, all the time are looking at what are the measures within HIPAA or cybersecurity or even state regulations that we need to stay on top of. We have a full-time in-house legal team. In the beginning of this year, we went through and reviewed all of the state laws, all of the Medicaid, all of the Medicare laws, so that as our clients lean on us as a partner, we can say, oh, we do understand the bill that was passed 264 in Florida. And here's what we're doing to make sure you and us and our relationship is fully compliant. And that's where there's a partnership, because we, as an employer of thousands of people, can afford that scaled protection within cybersecurity and also the legal and changing legal environments in the US. We just didn't learn HIPAA once and then never make another update.
Yeah.
We continue to evolve in our partnership.
Well, we know that as soon as something goes bad in Washington or Florida or California, and then we can no longer use you as a company, that you're going to lose a whole bunch of business. And so you're always staying up on that, making sure that you are compliant, making sure that you're checking the boxes, which is key. And I think that's the critical aspect that does separate different agencies that are out there. And as I spoke in the Invisible Team, agency selection has a big part of that. I want to ask you specifically about what your legal team had learned in some of the states where you're like, hey, there is something we have to address with this law. We need to make sure that we're compliant. Let's look a little closer at that law to make sure we are compliant. You spoke of one specifically in Florida. Tell us what you learned, let's say in Florida. I think you had mentioned to me one other time there was something in Texas where you had to be like, okay, let's make sure we're compliant in that. What are some examples? Maybe people don't even live in those states, but they're like, oh, you are looking into it. Give us an example.
Yeah, no, this is a fascinating conversation. I want to take a step back as like a human entrepreneur. Most of our news today is negative, and most of our news today is fear driven. And sometimes people don't, we all know, myself included, read something, the one sentence, and then I call my mother and say, did you see what happened with blah? And what we have found, there's two laws that were updated, one in Texas and one in Florida. I'll just talk to the Florida one specifically as an example. And we found that there was certain information circulating in optometry communities that remote work wasn't allowed. And what happens is if you dig into the actual law, and you can even go to Chat GPT and say, give me a summary of Florida State Bill 264. And what they actually are protecting against is there's two main parts of the law. One's very relevant to our conversation. One of them just basically says foreign enemies of the state, Russia, Cuba, Venezuela, Iran, they can't own Florida land. I think everybody's okay with that. And then number two, you can't store your PHI in those places. But because people are taking a quick glance about PHI or remote work, it was read and often misinterpreted as, oh, remote work's not allowed. Number one, I want to be really clear. We don't work in any countries that are an enemy of the US state. Number two, just as we talked about getting on here, we do not, as a company, take our data beyond the United States. And so, number one, we're not even in employment with any of these foreign entities. But what I want people to understand is this has nothing to do with remote work. It's about storing PHI in places that the US is vulnerable and doesn't have good relationships. And so, what I want to
So this may apply more to like my electronic health record company having their server in Russia right now.
whereas
That's
Weave
like,
storing your calls,
right.
which is in the United States, but it's about the actual
Mm-hmm.
storage of the data.
Mm-hmm.
And what I would implore anyone to do is don't take my word for it. Actually, go to ChatGPT. Don't read the whole law. I can't read the whole law. My ADHD doesn't last that long. But go out there and get educated so that you truly understand what's happening so that we're not riding on misinformation. The laws will continue to change, but our goal at Team is also to make sure that you're fully in compliance because we are a partnership. And so if we're not bringing that compliance, whether it be technologically wise or legal wise to the relationship, we're just
Mm-hmm.
providing a warm body. And at the end of the day, we are interested in being a long-term partner. And so as part of this, DK and I have been able to put together a form to show people here are the state laws broken down by state. Here are recent changes. And here's the link where you can read it yourself so that it's not the interpretation of DK or Cory
Mm-hmm.
Team, but it's, hey, let's get educated so that we can make the best possible business decisions. Because I know at the end of the day, the hybrid workforce, I genuinely could stand on this hill against everybody and say the hybrid workforce is essential for optometry practices to survive going forward. Profitability is a battle that is not stopping. We all went into this field not to purely make money, but you also need to make money to keep the lights on and keep your family happy and your needs met. And so I know that remote work brings that arbitrage and that value that's necessary. And we just have to make sure that we're staying up to date as technology and legal and information continues to become available. And then our goal as a partner is to apply those and to make those changes for you so that you can focus on administering the care, the reason you actually went to school.
Yep. Yep. And I, the other aspect of that we pass over sometimes is how difficult it is right now to hire other people in our office, and getting in office team members is so challenging, which puts an very heavy weight upon the people that are in the office, and now they're missing 50% of the phone calls, and they're getting yelled at by the patients, and they're working overtime and extra hard, and having a remote team lifts the burden off of them so that they can then personally care for the doctor as well as the patient, and it just brings about a level of care. I have no problem hiring people in the United States, but it's really hard to find them. And like you pointed out, is I'm paying 25 to 50% more than I was pre-COVID for many of my workforce, which just makes it, an extreme burden, because in the last 20 years, we have had hardly any increase in our Medicare reimbursement. Medicare actually just came out this past year and said that they're not increasing the reimbursements, which with inflation and all those things means that we're making less money, and things are costing more. So we have to be finding these solutions. I looked at my P&L yesterday with my, operations lead, and lo and behold, number one expense was our team. And so we have to find ways to definitely enhance that. So the resource that Cory mentioned about each of the different states, we'll have that available if you want to look up where your state fits in with this. But a lot of research has gone into this. But look in your own state, right? If you're looking for an excuse of why not to have virtual team members and remote workforce, you can come up with many of them if you want, but the legality of it is not a good excuse. So we'll have that resource available in the show notes, and really great insights. Any thoughts or closing tidbits, Mr. Cory?
No, I love genuinely, I love what I get to do. I love that we get to partner with amazing practitioners and allow them to do what they do best. And as you said, in a roundabout way, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting a different result. As you said, profitability is harder. And so how do we make change? And
Mhm.
that change will allow us to administer better care, at the same time, take care of the needs of the practice and our team, no matter where they live.
Yeah, absolutely. Good insights. Hey, check out that link in the bio. We'll also have that available if you want to reach out to Brujik or myself. And there's other podcasts that we have available talking about the benefits of utilizing virtual. If you're listening this in before April, we're having a series of webinars that are being put on related to bringing on a virtual team and the benefits that they really can bring to your office. So make sure to check those out. And you can also check out the Invisible Team book, where we highlight a little bit more information about that. And awesome to have you on as always. Cory, thank you for what you do and how you bring success to my office, Brujik's office, and so many others in the eye care community. And thank you for listening. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the OI Show.